James, how you doing today? Nikki, Kimura? Kimura, how was that thing yesterday? Didn't you go to that LOTT thing?
Yeah, it was okay. It was just a lot of schools there and a lot of people.
A lot of people. Did you learn anything new?
We got to see a lot of different industries and they even had like this big truck there inside, so it was cool.
Oh, that's cool. So were you able to oh, I don't know, like put in a resume or like applications and stuff?
Well, since we're eighth grade, I don't think we would do that yet until 12th grade.
Okay. So they only did that for seniors. That's cool.
hmm
Okay. Well, that was good. A little change, right? From class, not having to be in class. That's always good. And learn a little bit. Hi, Holden. Good, Kimura. Okay, so while we're waiting for everybody, you guys in the chat, tell me one thing you may know about Mexico. No Googling, and it can't be that they speak Spanish, right? We want to something other than, right? They speak Spanish. So someone has commented about street food. Yeah, they're known for their street food. They have good food. Okay, what else do we know about Mexico? Maybe think music or TV or movies or history or architecture. I don't know. Think of all these things, right? That we might know.
I forgot how to spell it, but for their shows, they have a lot of telenovelas.
Yeah, very good. Telenovelas, the uh soap operas. Yeah, telenovelas, soap opera. Good, Holden. Yes, delicious food. 26 states, yes, and the capital is Mexico City. See, think music, yeah, TV. What about music? What music styles do we know about? What else do we know about Mexico? Yes, very good, Priscilla. So a special dance for like when you turn 15. It's only for girls, and they call it a quinceañera. So quince for 15. You're absolutely right. Quinceañera, right? And it's a huge thing. It's almost like a wedding. She girl wears a big fancy ball gown and she has attendants and all this stuff. And you know where it comes from? Well, you guys live in the South, so yes, you know how uh in the South they used to do like debutante balls. Do you know what I'm talking about? A debutante ball. Do y'all still have those around there? Or do you know what I'm referring to? Like a debutante ball? Have you ever seen those? Well, debutante balls in the United States, right, was when a girl was 15 or 16 from a wealthy family in the South, like from where you all are from. And they would have, like, the parents would have a big party and the girl would get a fancy dress. Yeah. And basically, what they were saying and again, you had to be wealthy. This wasn't for the average person, right? Um, the parents were basically saying, hey, my daughter is like available into society, right? Like my daughter is available to date or in those days they didn't date, but like if you're interested in marrying her, if you wanted to suit her, court her, you could do it. Like she's of age, right? And so it's the same thing, traditionally speaking.
Don't wanna miss your presence. I don't wanna miss your.
Yeah. Um, so it's the same thing for a quinceañera, right? Is that like in wealthy Mexican tradition, they're having a big party and they're bringing their daughter out and saying, hey, she's available to date. I mean, that's the history of the
I
thing,
don't
right?
wanna miss your presence.
Yeah, make sure
Don't
we're muted.
wanna miss you.
Make sure we stay muted, please. So it's just a way of a quinceañera is just a way of like introducing a woman into society and saying, hey, she's available to date. Now, that's the traditional reason. Nowadays, they do it just because you're 15 and they give you a fancy birthday party. And sometimes they do it when they're 16 or 17. I mean, it doesn't have to be 15, right? But you're right. Okay, anybody else? Good job. One thing you may know about Mexico, besides the fact that they have good food and they speak Spanish and they have chihuahuas. Yeah. Have you guys ever seen the movie? Is it Coco that has the dog? Just Coco. So Coco's dog, which I can't remember its name. Do y'all remember the dog's name? It's not coming to me right now. Anybody remember the dog's name? Yeah, very good. The Day of the Dead, mariachi, my favorite. Yes, they have pyramids and the Mayans, right? And the Aztecs. Yeah, and the Mayan calendar and all of those things. Dante, that's it. Lisa, thank you for that. Dante the dog from Coco, right? So he is a special breed called the Mexican hairless dog. His actual breed name is a long indigenous name, Indian name, but they're Mexican hairless, right? They're generally gray or black, and they have no hair, and they're adorable, like Dante in Coco, right? Yes. Yes, we have the Day of the Dead, which is coming up November 1st, right? Which is not Halloween, and we will figure that out. We'll kind of celebrate Day of the Dead, but we got to figure out what we're celebrating first. It's not Halloween, okay? Anything else? What do we know about Mexico without Googling? Yes, they use a lot of chiles. Yeah, that's right, Kamora. Yes. Anybody else? You guys got it. Okay, muy bien, good job. So, Encanto, like when was it made? The movie? Is that what you're asking me, James? I don't have any idea. Somebody says, Kimura says 2021. I don't have any idea. But we are going to look into Coco also later this year, because we're going to figure out what is an alebrije. Yeah, so that we have lots of things planned, right, you guys? Having said that, a couple of things this morning. I'm having some bad weather here, and I've already lost power once today, which means my internet went out and everything. So I'm just reminding you, if it happens again during our class, do not go anywhere. Just stay in Zoom, just chill and hang out and wait for me, because I'll get on my phone and we'll Zoom on my phone. Okay. So don't go anywhere if I lose electricity today. All right. All right. Muy bien. So here's the plan for today. Let me switch up my background. The plan for today, you guys, is that we are supposed to start our new unit. And it is going to be the biggest unit of the year. Woohoo. Okay. So behind me, clase, hoy es el 18 septiembre. Y vamos a conocer a Mexico. So we've talked a little bit about Mexico, some culture, right? And do our homework. So yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday was Wednesday, right? Yesterday, you guys, we started that repaso gramatical. What I need to see on my screen is if you guys go to your Zoom reactions down at the bottom of your Zoom screen, I need a thumbs up or a thumbs down in your Zoom reaction, whether or not you completed that repaso gramatical yesterday. Yes? Give me a reaction, you guys. Okay. I need to hear from everyone. Oriana, Stacy, Carlin, Lay, Evan. Okay. Dallas, Aslan, Nikki. I need to hear from everyone. Carolina, okay. James, Oriana, did you answer me? Did you complete the repaso gramatical? It looked like a test, but it wasn't a test, right? It was a review of everything we did on that preliminary unit. Thank you. Okay, that is a definite something that we have to do, right? We need to make sure that we finish our preliminary unit, right? The unit we've been working in. And because today we are going to start our next unit. Okay, so I'm waiting on my computer, you guys. I'm gonna. So, when I lost power, of course, everything was disconnected, so I've had to try to reconnect everything. So I'm kind of discombobulated today. Okay. So, we have been working in our, take a look at my Zoom screen. We have been looking in our working in our Let's Get Started unit. And see, I'm still not in student view. Come on, computer. And you should have completed, it's the very last entry there. It says tests. It's not really a test. It's a repaso, like a review of some of the highlights of the things that we did in our thing. Also, I looked this morning, many of you still have not completed this web quest. Okay, we cannot dedicate too much class time for everybody to get caught up, right? That's kind of your responsibility in class. We need to sort of move on. Okay, we need to keep moving. So you all need to get caught up. Okay, any questions about this? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. And what we are going to do is we are going to talk about Mexico. Okay. First of all, what is a stereotype? Can y'all kind of fill me in? What is a stereotype? Can you give me
A stereotype they have is usually that Mexico has a lot of rural areas, which they do, but they think that's the whole country in itself. Like they don't have any houses or sometimes running water, kind of the same thing with Africa. A lot of people think they don't have any homes or water there, and it's always like really, really, really hot and stuff like that.
Okay, so what we're saying is that essentially we think of it as rural or poor, right? If we're rural and no water, the stereotype is that it's poor. And, that is absolutely not the case. And there are many, many what we call expat, like expatriate communities in Mexico. In other words, people from England or Canada or the United States, right? English speakers live in Mexico. They're called expat communities. And, obviously if there was no running water, you wouldn't have all of these people coming all over the world to live there, right? Many beautiful cities, places like Cuernavaca, stuff like that, very beautiful cities, beautiful architecture, a lot of history, et cetera, right? So we will, absolutely. So we will look a little bit at some of Mexico's culture. Now, before we start, though, there's a short video that I want to share with you. Okay. And just to give you a little background, and this is a super duper important video. I want everybody zoomed in on this, okay, mentally. Much of Mexican history, you guys, has been that, you had the Spanish conquistadors come and, claim parts of the New World, right? And when they arrived, obviously there were people living in the Americas. They were the indigenous populations, right? The Native American populations. And the Spanish were horrible to them. Okay, no surprise. And so, but you had them come to colonize and all of that. So for many centuries, you know, what we refer to as Mexico today was part of the larger Spanish Empire. Okay. As centuries went on and there were wars and this, that, and the other, you know, blah, blah, blah. What is Mexico today also used to belong to Napoleon III and France. Yeah. So you had these colonies, right? Just like the United States was a colony of England. Okay. And we fought our War of Independence against England, you know, to become the United States of America. Mexico did the same thing. Okay, not against England though, right? But against the French and against Spain. Okay. So September 16th is Mexican Independence Day. So it was just the other day. And there's a tradition where the Mexican president comes out onto the balcony of the, like, city hall, let's just say. I'm trying to simplify. And the Mexican president comes out and they do what they call el grito. Grito is like when you yell, like a scream. Okay. And it has a tradition in history for, like, if you can envision when you're fighting a battle for independence, right? And you're like a general in charge of your troops, right? You're going to go charge, you know, you're going to scream, right? And you're going to try to inspire your troops to fight as hard as they can, right? So let's do it for our fallen comrades, right? For all of those people who have, you know, risked their lives and given their lives for our country, you know, our independent, free Mexico. Okay. So what we're going to watch is a short video of the current Mexican president, who is a lady. Her name is Claudia Sheinbaum. Doesn't sound very Spanish, but it is, right? Because, you know, you do have immigrants and things. So Claudia Sheinbaum, she's the president of Mexico. And I would add, again, going back to what we're saying about stereotypes, poor countries, this, that, and the other, you know, Mexico is willing to have a president who's a woman. I'm not so sure that the United States, I mean, we've never had one, right? So that's something to think about. But I want to show you Claudia Sheinbaum doing El Grito de Independencia, right? She's doing the yell, the scream, if you will, of independence. And she, you guys, is amazing. She's amazing. She's the first woman in 200 and something years to ever do the grito, right? And so let me pull it up here for you. And I want to make sure that you can watch this, because it really is something to watch. Well, let me make sure I have the right one here. Okay, I want to take the time to show you this, okay, because like I said, this was Mexican Independence Day just the other day, and I'm gonna fast forward. We're not gonna watch the whole thing. I do want us to watch the whole grito, right? But we're gonna I'll fast forward through the beginning of this, okay? Okay, super important. Everybody's paying attention, right? We're talking about stereotypes and poverty and all of these things. Just take a look, okay? All right, so this is the 215th anniversary del Grito de Independencia, right, you guys, of this struggle for independence. Okay, Okay, can you guys hear the music? Did you all hear the music? Yes. Okay. All right, please watch. Okay, I'm just going to run it fast forward. We see soldiers marching, right? Okay, here she comes. So she's going to come out onto the balcony, right? And there's crowd. I'm not sure. That might be her husband. Yeah. Remember, she's the president, right? Okay.
Mexicanas, mexicanos, ¡viva la independencia! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla! ¡Viva!
Let me see if I can do the captions. That might help you guys. Sometimes I forget. Unavailable. Okay, so what she's going to do is she's going to go through and name all of the heroes, okay, in Mexican history that helped gain independence, right?
¡Viva Josefa Ortiz Telles Quirón! ¡Viva! ¡Viva José María Morelos y Pavón! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Leona Vicario! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Ignacio Allende! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Gertrudis Bocanegra! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Vicente Guerrero! ¡Viva! ¡Viva Manuela Molina la Capitana! ¡Viva! ¡Viva las heroínas anónimas! ¡Viva!
Okay, so now she's going to start saying, she's going to start remembering people like heroes and heroines who fought. She's going to start remembering men and regular men and women like the Native Americans, the indigenous populations who lost their lives in the fight as well. She's going to remember all of these people, even, not just the generals and those folks, but just the everyday person as well. Okay, so she's almost finished, but please continue to listen. She is amazing. Okay, here we go.
¡Viva las heroínas y héroes que nos dieron patria! ¡Viva! ¡Viva las mujeres indígenas! ¡Viva! ¡Viva nuestras hermanas y hermanos migrantes! ¡Viva! ¡Viva la dignidad del pueblo de México! ¡Viva! ¡Viva la libertad!
any thoughts? So at the end, she says, long live liberty and justice and dignity and democracy and all of these things. So any thoughts, you guys? Cool, not cool, weird, not weird. Any thoughts? What do y'all say? Inspiring. Okay. Anybody else? Powerful. Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, it was really cool, right? Again, this is, essentially they're like we talk about 4th of July. That's what we celebrate on our 4th of July is Independence Day, right? Well, their Independence Day was, like I say, just the other day, and this was part of their national celebration for Independence Day, right? Okay, I thought it was pretty powerful too. Okay, and I think, yeah, I think it's also, important that we realize, that other countries have their traditions and their history and things that they, right, that are important to them. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do, and if you think of something else about the grito, just let me know, pop it in the chat or you can unmute. So what we're going to spend time on today is looking at some more about history, some basic things about history. And what I need for everyone to do, and this is going to be an experiment. So I need everybody to meet me in Canvas. Por favor. Everybody needs to meet me in Canvas. Yes, and she, Claudia Scheinbaum, is like an amazing leader. You saw, right, the plaza there in Mexico City, the Zócalo, full of people. You saw all of that, right? Because she is such an inspiring leader to them. If you're interested in those kinds of things, I'm sure you can Google her and find out all kinds of stuff, right? She's amazing. Yes, even a woman soldier, absolutely, leading the procession. Exactly, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you guys get to Canvas, scroll down. We are in Unidad Uno, right? El primer Unidad, Mexico. It's where we're starting. And like I told you guys, this will be our largest module. This will be our largest Unidad for the year because we're starting out. We've got to learn all of our basic foundational things so that we can add to them, right? So that we can get fancy schmancy, but we got to start somewhere before we get fancy schmancy, right? So this is, again, a experiment for me. Can you click on this Nearpod and let me know if it opens for you?
It does.
It does. Perfect. All right, then I'm going to stop sharing so I can get my screen ready to go. And you all need to be in that Nearpod and just hang out there for me for just a second. Like I said, I had all this kind of pulled up and ready to go, but then like electricity went hoo-ha. So we're going to do a little, I don't know, a little, let me see, virtual reality tour of Mexico, you guys. And I am going to encourage you to ask questions. I really want you to ask questions, okay? All right, let's see, and Go Guardian. Are we all there? Akari, Aslan, Oriana, are we all there? Priscilla, Dallas, we need to be in the Nearpod. Elizabeth, Haley, Heaven, Holden, good job. Nikki, Lay. Okay, yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay, my weather is getting bad again, you guys. So let me do something real fast just in case we get disconnected. Okay, give me a second. In case we get disconnected, then you guys can work on your own, but I need to publish whatever. So let's see if I can make that happen. Give me a second. I'm glad for the rain, but I'm not glad for the interruptions. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see. AirPod. Okay, muy bien, clase. So let's explore. Okay, so we've kind of talked about this already. What comes to your mind when you think of Mexico, right? But if you hadn't participated in the chat, you can represent your answer in words or pictures and or symbols. So take a minute. Again, you can draw something if you're an artiste, or you can add an image. What comes to your mind when you think of Mexico? Or we could even switch it up a little and say, what came to mind when you saw the Grito de Independencia with the president? What comes to mind when you think of Mexico? DK, you with us? Stacy? Akari? All right, we got, what do we have there? Quinceañeras, okay. Tacos or food, comida, la comida. La bandera, Dallas, good job. A flag, right? Okay, el mapa, the map or the shape of the country. Muy bien. Ooh, mariachi, that's my favorite. And we're gonna, next week, I'm gonna share my favorite mariachi with you. I love him so much. Heaven, muy bien. James, are those empanadas? Or tacos? Tacos, maybe. I can't really tell. Good, Kamora. See, Carlin. Sombreros, yeah, sombreros, big wide brimmed hats to keep the sun away. Yes, the fancy, the dress. Yeah, birria. Oh, birria tacos. Yes, you guys got it going on. Oh, Carolina, I love that. I love that. See, los papeles picados, right? Those, you guys see sometimes the different colored like banners that have like the pictures cut out of them, right? That's very traditional Mexican, and they're called papeles picados. I love them. Yes, muy bien. Pyramids. The dog, very good. Day of the Dead. See, muy bien. All right, you guys, muy bien, bien hecho. Good job. Okay, let's go on. Nice. So this is going to ask us to record observations, right? You guys can do this in your head if you want. You don't have to download anything. This is just for us to sort of explore, okay? All right, so let's take a look. Again, you know, someone mentioned originally about how we tend to think of certain places as maybe poor or something. And that's not to say that obviously there isn't poverty. Of course, we have poverty in the United States, right? It's everywhere, unfortunately. Okay. But that doesn't mean it's everything. Okay. So we have beautiful beaches in some places in Mexico. Look at the architecture here, right? Okay. How would you like to live here, you guys? Wake up every morning and have your coffee, yeah, and be able to look out at the ocean, right? Isn't that amazing? Yes. Look at this place. Wow. I want to live there. How about you guys? Anybody else want to live there? I do. Yes, I do too. I would. And wake up every morning and see this view? Absolutely. Okay. Notice we have some churches, right? Several churches here. Well, this is actually the same church, right? And we have high rises, individual homes, lots of sort of condo kind of things, right? Okay. Yeah. If you want to look at it in that's not my favorite view, but if you like that, you can look at it that way. It is like a paradise. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. All right. Here's another. This is more in city. Again, you see this is a church, an old church. And this is what we call a plaza or zócalo, right? Which is like a large area where people tend to gather, right? And traditionally speaking, again, this is left over sort of from colonial times in the sense that you have, just like in Europe in the Middle Ages, the center of town, historically speaking, was always the church. And then in front of the church, you always had like the town center, the city square, whatever you want to call it. And we know in Spanish, for example, it's called a plaza, right? The large area in front of the church or the city square. And that's always, again, historically speaking, where everything used to happen. That's where people would come and sell their fruit, whatever they would make and sell in those days. It's where they used to have executions. It all happens in the town square, right? And generally in front of the church, because the church was the meeting place for everyone. We have words for plaza in every language. For example, in Spanish, it's plaza. In Italian, it's piazza. In French, it's place, right? In German, it's Platz. In Greek, it's plaka. Like every place has its town center square. Okay. All right, let's go on. Here is an example of a Mayan pyramid. Okay. And to give you an idea of its size, you guys, here's people. And you can see how small they are compared to, right? Tons of tourists, lots of things to see in Mexico. Lots of history in Mexico. Okay, we're going to skip. Okay, so let's look at some basic facts, okay? All right, its location is just south of the United States. Mexico is not South America. Mexico is North America. Okay. There are 3 countries that make up North America, and that is Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So it is not South America. Okay. It's North America. Okay. This little curly, like sort of tail here, this little point that sticks out, that is called the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, the Yucatan. Sometimes when we get hurricanes in the Gulf here, you'll hear talking about the Yucatan. This is the Yucatan. The other peninsula is here, which is just south of California. So it's Baja. This is called Baja California. Baja meaning low, right? Or below, underneath, sort of. Okay. And so because it's south of California, Baja California. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. Hold on. Let me keep scrolling down. Okay. Our next bit of key information. Okay, its national language is Spanish. However, do we know whether or not other languages are spoken in Mexico? Does anybody know of any other languages spoken in Mexico? Anyone have an idea? Without Googling, no Googling. Yes, there are those who speak English. Anybody else? Well, let's think about history, you guys. This is one of the ways where history can help us. When the Spanish discovered the Americas, okay, when they arrived in, let's just say, what is today Mexico, when they hit that landmass, okay, who was living there? Who was living there? So when the Spanish came, right? Yeah, it was the indigenous populations, right? It was the Native Americans living there. It's the same Native Americans that live in what is today the United States, right? We have this Iroquois or the Cherokee or the Kiowa or the Sioux or whatever, right? Those same peoples migrated further south, okay? They call themselves something else, but they're all Native Americans, okay? Indigenous populations. And so what you're going to see in Spanish, you guys, I mean, in Mexico, is especially in rural areas, right? In country or in the mountains, okay? Those folks are still going to speak Quechua, for example, or, a form of Mayan, okay? Whatever their native language, I don't know who that is, but we need to stop. Whatever the native language is, okay? Listen, if we can't do this correctly, we won't. You want to mess it up for everybody else? Okay, you got a question, you need to put it in chat. So the native, those folks who still live in rural areas or in the country still speak their native language, right? So it's not only Spanish. We have to remember that that is not their original language. Their original language is whatever their, like, Quechua, right? Whatever their native language is, okay? All right, so we're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to be able to do this. So my apologies. So let's back out. Everybody needs to back out of the Nearpod. Let's back out of the Nearpod. Haley. Lay. So let's go ahead and back out. Everybody needs to back out. And we'll switch gears, okay? Apologies, you guys. We have an inappropriate scenario, we can't continue, right? Okay, let me get my next screen pulled up here. Give me a second. It's thinking, my computer's thinking. Okay, so make sure that you can hear my screen and see my screen, okay? And we will answer the questions in chat, okay? All right, so let's do this little profile. And if you cannot hear, just let me know, okay? All right, here we go.
It's the Spanish-speaking country with the biggest population. It's home to the largest pyramid in the world, and its capital city is sinking. These are just...
Okay, so we're talking about Mexico. Its capital city is doing what? Growing, shrining, or sinking? A, B, or C? What's our answer in chat? A, B, or C? A, B, or C? It is sinking, right? Mexico City is sinking. So let's figure out why. That's kind of crazy.
These are just 3 of the things that you will learn about Mexico.
Okay, let's go on.
Welcome to the rebooted GeoFocus channel. Today we're going to focus on Mexico. Mexico has a population of approximately 130 million people, making it the 10th.
Okay, in comparison, how many people do you think live in the United States? Just pop it in the chat. No Googling. How many you think live in the United States? Just to compare. How many million live in the United States? In the United States. Okay. Yeah, it's just a guess, right? Yeah, so roughly, you guys, in 20, I don't know when this video was made, but in 2025, roughly our population is roughly 370 million people in the United States. 370 million, okay, versus approximately 130 million in Mexico. I do want to say, because I don't remember if he mentions it in here, Mexico City is the largest city on the planet in area. Mexico City alone has a population of 20 million people, more or less, probably more. I'm just going to say, round it off and say 20 million people. So what is the population of Georgia? Does anybody know what the population is of Georgia? Anybody know what is Georgia? So like Missouri has like 6 million people in Missouri. No, 6 million people in Missouri. So I have to have how many Missouris, right? To just in terms of people, just for Mexico City, if there's 20 million people, right, in Mexico City. So that kind of gives you an idea of just Mexico City, how large it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Making it the 10th most populous country in the world and the most populous Spanish-speaking country. It's located in North America, to the south of the United States. Some people...
All right, where is Mexico located? South America, North America, Central America, or Europe? A, B, C, or D? Tell me A, B, C, or D. You don't have to type it all out. Yes, if you said B, you are correct. Remember, we said there are 3 countries in North America: Canada, the United States, and Mexico. North America, right? Yep.
Some people mistakenly think that North America only consists of Canada and the United States, and that Mexico is part of Central America instead. Let me correct two misunderstandings. First, Mexico is part of North America. And two, Central America lies to the south of Mexico, but is also part of North America.
All right, Central America is part of South America. True or false? T or F? T or F? True or false? Okay, you guys are telling me false. Central America is part of South America, and y'all are telling me false. Yay, good job.
It's a region of North America. The Central American countries bordering southern Mexico are Guatemala and Belize. Mexico has 9,330 kilometers of coastline, most of which faces the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf of California to the west, and the rest of which faces the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea to the east. Its total area is 1,964,375 square kilometers, which makes it the 13th largest country in the world, slightly bigger than...
Okay, how large is Mexico? 5th, 13th, or 10th? A, B, or C? It's on the screen. A, B, or C? Yeah. Okay, B, muy bien.
Slightly bigger than Indonesia and a little smaller than Saudi Arabia. It's also roughly 3 times the size of Texas. Speaking of Texas, Texas, along with California, Nevada, Utah, and most of Arizona, about half of New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming, used to be part of Mexico. The United States took those areas from Mexico in the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 1848. Indigenous people lived in what is now Mexico before the arrival of the Spanish,
Okay,
or part of Utah,
back up again.
Indonesia, slightly bigger.
Okay, I'm going to back up because I want you guys to hear that part again one more time.
Slightly bigger than Indonesia and a little smaller than Saudi Arabia. It's also roughly 3 times the size of Texas. Speaking of Texas, Texas, along with California, Nevada, Utah, and most of Arizona, about half of New Mexico, and parts of Colorado and Wyoming, used to be part of Mexico. The United States took those areas from Mexico in the Mexican-American War of 1846 to 18...
Okay, so 1840 up until roughly 1846, you guys, what is California? Basically the south, I mean, the western part of the United States, the southwestern part of the United States belonged to Mexico. Okay, to put it in perspective, the Civil War in the United States was in the 1860s, right? So it hasn't been too long ago, right?
1848. Indigenous people lived in what is now Mexico before the arrival of the Spanish, who colonized the area and turned it into the core of New Spain. It remained part of the Spanish Empire until Mexico eventually gained its independence from the Spanish in 1821.
Okay, I'm going to back up again because this is American history here. Okay, I'm going to show you this map one more time. Okay, so this is what the Spanish Empire looked like. Here's Spain, here, over here on the right-hand side of the screen. So everything in orange used to belong to Spain. Okay, so this is the United States, right? This is Florida, right? Georgia's right here, Louisiana, all of this belonged to Spain. Okay, yes. Yes, James. Okay.
Part of the Spanish Empire until Mexico eventually gained its independence from the Spanish in 1821. The pre-Spanish people...
Okay, so what country colonized Mexico? United States, Portugal, Spain, or France? A, B, C, or D? Correct. Colonized was Spain, right? It was part of the Spanish Empire. That's why they speak Spanish. Okay, good.
Pre-Spanish peoples included the Mexica people of the Aztec Empire, which ruled much of central Mexico from the capital, Tenochtitlan, the site of present-day Mexico City. The Mexica spoke the Nahuatl language, or Nahuatl. But throughout the other areas of Mexico that were eventually conquered, there were many other ethnic groups speaking many different languages and dialects. Today, Spanish is by far the dominant language, though it's only the de facto official language. There's no law that makes it the official language. There are 68 national languages recognized by the government, including Spanish and indigenous languages, as well as 4 varieties of sign language.
Okay, how many languages? Did you guys catch how many native languages? 68. Okay, that's what I was trying to explain before. 68 native languages. Okay, they only speak Spanish because it was colonized by Spain.
Obviously, the influence of the indigenous peoples and their cultures is a huge part of what gives Mexico its unique identity. Nahuatl, or Nahuatl, is still spoken by around 1.7 million people, and Mayan languages are spoken by around 800,000, and several other languages have hundreds of thousands of speakers each. Many place names come from Nahuatl and other indigenous languages, and even though most people speak only Spanish these days, they sometimes mix in some words from the area's indigenous language. Another aspect of Mexican society that's a result of its history is religion. According to the 2010 census, 82.7% of Mexicans are Catholic and 92.42% practice some form of...
Okay, so based on the numbers, true or false, most Mexican are Catholic. T or F? T or F, yes. Now, why are they Catholic?
Because Spain was known for being Catholic, and when they came and they basically took over, they probably converted their religion.
That's correct, right? So they're Catholic or Christian in general because of Spain. Okay, yep, good.
Practice some form of Christianity or an offshoot religion. But some different traditions accompany Catholicism in Mexico due to religious syncretism. Religious syncretism means the mixing of traditions from one religion into another. For example, 45% of Mexican Catholics believe in reincarnation, and 31% believe that communication with spirits is possible. An example of this syncretism is the festival Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. This festival derives from ancient Aztec festivals honoring the dead and seeking contact with them. But on the calendar, it coincides with the Catholic celebration of All Hallows Eve, which you might know as Halloween, All Hallows Day, or All Saints Day, and All Souls Day, a Christian feast.
Okay, so Dia de los Muertos is celebrated around Christmas or around Halloween? A or B? A or B? C. B. Okay, but it's not Halloween, right? You got to remember that.
A Christian feast dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints. On the Day of the Dead, people build private altars dedicated to their loved ones who have died. The altars are
All right, we're gonna skip.
The altars are decorated with some of the deceased person's favorite foods and other items to encourage that person's soul to return and spend time with them. The Day of the Dead is on UNESCO's list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Mexico has a number of different types of terrain, and the landscape in each of the various regions can vary greatly. One hugely important feature of Mexico is its mountains, including the Sierra Madre mountain system. Its 3 mountain ranges are the Sierra Madre Occidental to the west, the Sierra Madre Oriental to the east, and the Sierra Madre del Sur range in the southwest. Between these mountain ranges lies the Central Mexican Plateau. These features give Mexico much of its diversity in climate and landscape between the coastal areas, mountains, and plateau. Mexico has 31 states and 1 federal capital area, Mexico City. Those 32...
How many states does Mexico have? A, B, C, or D? A, B, C, or D? Yes. C, 31, right? How many do we have in the United States? Yep. 50. Very good. 50. Muy bien.
32 federal entities can be grouped into 6 regions. First, Baja California is a narrow peninsula extending southward from the border with the US state of California. To be very clear, Baja California, which means Lower California, is in Mexico and is not part of the US state of California. This region is very dry and arid, with much of it covered by desert. It's also dominated by several large mountain ranges that rise from sea level on the western side of the peninsula. The well-known border towns of Tijuana and Mexicali are located in Baja California. Tijuana has the second most populous metro area in the country, after Mexico City. Northern Mexico.
Okay, the second most populated city in Mexico. A, Mexico City, B, Tijuana, or C, Cancun. A, B, or C. Well, we said Mexico City was the largest city in the world, right? So that wouldn't be it. So Tijuana. That's what you guys are telling me. Yay, Tijuana.
In Mexico. This is a huge region consisting of 7 different states with a lot of different geographic features. Much of the north consists of arid or semi-arid desert. This includes the Sonora Desert in the northwest, which stretches from the ocean to the Sierra Madre Occidental mountain range. On the other side of the Sierra Madre Occidental lies the Chihuahuan Desert, which stretches eastward to the Sierra Madre Oriental mountain range. The Pacific Coast. The southern end of the Sierra Madre Occidental range lies within the northern part of this region, but the main mountain range here is the Sierra Madre del Sur. Between the ocean and the mountains, there are beautiful tropical beaches that attract tourists from around the world. Its most famous coastal resort towns are Acapulco and Puerto Vallarta. Also in this region is Guadalajara, which is situated on the central Mexican plateau, or Mexican Altiplano, on the other side of the mountains. It's the capital of the state of Jalisco, and it has the third largest metro area in the country, after Mexico City and Tijuana. In its southeastern state of Chiapas, you can find the largest jungle in Mexico, Lacandon Rainforest. That rainforest also extends into the southern part of the next region, the Yucatan Peninsula. This region is quite distinct from much of the rest of Mexico because of its Mayan heritage and Mayan archaeological ruins, and many locals still speak a Mayan language in their everyday lives. Facing both the Gulf.
Hey, the Yucatan, that's that little thing I was pointing out earlier, has a heritage from what civilization? A, B, or C? Who lived there? Was it the Mayan or the Aztec or the Spanish? A, B, or C? Yeah, you guys are telling me A. Muy bien.
Facing both the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, this is also a popular area for tourists visiting its splendid beach resort towns like Cancun and Playa del Carmen. The Bajío. This region gets more rainfall than most other areas of the country, with around 700 millimeters per year. It's known for its efficient agricultural production and is often said to be the region of Mexico with the highest quality of life. Central Mexico. This region includes the capital, Mexico City, which is a federal district like Washington, D.C. in the United States, and it includes the surrounding areas of the central Mexican plateau, areas in the Sierra Madre Oriental mountain range, and neighboring coastal areas in the state of Veracruz. In the state of Puebla, you can find the Great Pyramid of Cholula. It's the largest pyramid in the world based on volume. It's not the tallest. The tallest is the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, but this one is much wider. In Puebla, you can also find Cuexcomate, which is often referred to as the world's smallest volcano, but it's actually a geyser and not a volcano at all. Central Mexico is...
Okay, so you've seen all kinds of landscapes. Check all that apply. Are there mountains, deserts, beaches, jungles, geysers, plateaus? Yes. Okay, all of the above.
Mexico is the most densely populated region of Mexico, particularly the capital, Mexico City, which has a population of around 9.2 million, and neighboring Mexico State, which has a population of around 17 million. Greater Mexico City, which includes 60 nearby towns and cities in Mexico State and the nearby state of Hidalgo, has a population of around 21.8 million, making it the second largest metro area in the Western Hemisphere, after Sao Paulo in Brazil. One amazing fact about Mexico City is that the city is sinking. It's sinking at a rate of around 1 meter per year. The city is at an elevation of around 2,250 meters, so it's not going to sink into the ocean anytime soon. but the sinking results in roads cracking and buildings tilting. The highest point in all of Mexico is also found in the central region, Pico de Orizaba volcano, which is at an elevation of 5,636 meters. You might notice snow at the peak of the mountain. Snow? In Mexico? I thought it was a tropical country. Well, parts of Mexico are tropical. The Tropic of Cancer runs through Mexico, so the portion of Mexico south of that line technically lies within the tropics, while the portion north of the Tropic of Cancer is in the temperate zone. But places in the tropical zone geographically don't necessarily have tropical climates. Below the Tropic of Cancer, the areas at lower elevations, up to 1,000 meters, are warm and hot year-round. But the higher you go in elevation, the more seasonal variation there is in temperatures. For example, the capital, Mexico City, sits at an elevation of above 2,300 meters and has a subtropical highland climate, with warm summers and mild winters and cool temperatures at night. North of the Tropic of Cancer, in the temperate zone, we see the same tendency for greater seasonal variation in temperatures with cool winters, especially at higher elevations. Mexico has the 15th largest economy in the world and the second largest economy in Latin America, after Brazil. This is partly because it's...
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there for a second. Somebody asked me how come the city is sinking, because they didn't address it here. So it was started out being built on a lake. Yeah, it was a lake. So the old town Mexico City was built over a lake, and so the soil is unstable. Okay. All righty. So the economy, how large is Mexico's economy? 10th, 8th, or 15th? You guys are telling me C. And it is 15th largest.
Partly because it's a neighbor of the US, where it sends many of its exports, and Mexican workers living in the US send remittances back to Mexico. In other words, they send money home. Remittances comprise 3 to 4% of Mexico's GDP. Mexico's main exports include cars and delivery trucks, automotive parts, computers, and crude petroleum, in other words, oil. Another big sector of the economy is tourism, which represents about 17.3% of GDP. This is in part thanks to the 31 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that are located there, and in part thanks to the natural beauty and climate, and in part thanks to the friendliness of the people. But despite the large economy overall, there's a big wealth gap, with over 50% of the population living below the poverty line. This is the main reason why many Mexicans have migrated to the United States. It's certainly not because Mexico lacks beauty, culture, and amazing people. People from Mexico, what is it that you love about your country? And what would you like other people to know about it? And other people, what questions?
Okay, so what questions do you have about Mexico, the people, anything that maybe was mentioned that you'd like to know more about? I know we just talked about why it was sinking, Mexico City, why it was sinking. Any questions that came to mind that you want to pop in the chat? Well, yeah. So what would be the best thing about living there? I don't know. I've never personally lived there, of course, but yes, culture, I would say. I would also probably say the people, or the warmth of the people, right? People. Yeah. Okay. Lots of traditions, maybe lots of history, that kind of thing. Okay. All right. Any other questions about Mexico? All right. So we have about 3 minutes left. What I would like for everybody to do is check for VHL assignments again, and check for that web quest, and make sure that you are all done with the preliminary unit, you guys, because on Monday we're going to start deep diving into our new unidad. Okay, and like I say, it's going to be the busiest one of the school year, so we want to make sure that we're done with our unidad preliminar. So we have about 3 minutes. Gives you some time to maybe do a quick exercise, ask some questions, make sure that you're caught up. right? On Friday, you guys have that afternoon time to work on stuff. So, was there something about Mexico that you learned today that maybe you didn't know? I would like to hear that. Is there something about Mexico that you didn't know?
For me, I didn't know that they spoke that many languages. I really did think they only had Spanish as their main language and maybe a few others, but I didn't know it was that big and that they had an economy so big like that.
Yeah, so it's a big economy, absolutely. And they talk about the wealth, the gap between the wealthy and the poor. Every country has that. We know that. We live in the United States. We can see that, we have homeless populations and things like that, right? Yeah. Largest city, yeah, sinking. Anything else? Do we know what the main like the staple food is? In other words, if we talk about Asia, we kind of know that, rice plays a large part of their diet. Do we know what item plays a large part in Mexico's diet?
Is it corn, rice?
It's corn. Yeah, it's corn. Very good. Corn and beans, right? Corn and beans. And we can connect that to the Native Americans in what is today the United States as well, right? The Three Sisters. You guys know what the Three Sisters is?
Yeah, corn, beans, and squash.
Squash. There you go. So much to learn. All right, you guys. Nos vemos lunes. Make sure that you have everything finished between now and Monday. Por favor. Okay. All right. Gracias. Thank you for being flexible today. Adios. Enjoy your weekend. Nos vemos lunes. Adios, clase.